J.D. Vance, in his acceptance of nomination as Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate, talked in depth about the fact that he grew up in a very poor area uh, in Ohio, and about the strip in Ohio and Michigan and states thereby where manufacturing was the king, and the manufacturing has drizzled off. And now many people who have not made very much money ever are now really hurting, and how our economy did not work for them. And I think that's a great deal of the power of Trump and MAGA, is to reach out to these people who feel that our culture has and our politics have ignored them and left them behind. What a scandal it is that the whole middle of our country has not had internet access. One of the achievements of the Biden administration in their, quote, infrastructure bill was to pass funding to provide internet access to everybody in the country. But what a basis to feel resentful to know that people on basically on the coasts have wonderful internet access, and the people in the middle of the country don't. That's laid out brilliantly in a book called Discovering the Rockies by a 60-ish newspaper reporter who drove across the country, stopping off at diners and talking with people. And he found that if it's a college town, there's some stimulation and some optimism, but much of the rest of the middle of the country is a wasteland and without internet access, among other things. And so the Democrats have allowed this to fester and continue. And so J.D. Vance and other Republicans this week are talking about the elites, the Democrat elites who haven't cared, been content running around talking about gender. So Vance claims that he's going to address that. Mary woke up this morning talking about what a big lie the Republicans' approach is based on, because they don't want to spend money on whatever to do with ordinary people. They want to keep the money for themselves. And I think that really comes to the heart of Republicanism. Typically, a Republican is somebody who's either inherited or achieved some finances, some money, and they don't want to share it. So it's so simple, but there's so many camouflages, and there's so much confusion, and there's also a greed in the heart of many ordinary people who have the dream that they too will be able to achieve some wealth, and in anticipation of that, don't want taxpayer money being spent on things like medical care and education. That's a bit of a harsh analysis by me, but it's one based on many years of observation. And when I served in the Senate, my Republican colleagues were to a man pleasant people, liked their friends. They were kind to me. They used to say, "How are you going to vote on this bill, Jan? I haven't had time to read it, and I want to know how you're going to vote so I can just vote the opposite, and I'll be secure that I've cast a vote that will please the Chamber of Commerce and the other business organizations." And they'd laugh, and I would laugh. I got used to it. And they were guys I liked, in spite of it all. So that's where we sit. The Republicans are right now in a runaway stampede of popularity, capped off by the shooting of Donald Trump. but also based on the perceived weakness of Joe Biden. I'm not a betting man, but I'm so tempted to ask a couple of diehards if they want to bet that Biden will drop out by the 1st of August. I think he will. He is so embattled now, and the thing is cascading down the hill so hard for him. Now he's sick with COVID, which just seems to be a capper. And you've got the commentators, particularly Axelrod, who used to be a principal advisor to Barack Obama, hammering away that the optics are over and you can't go out and make a lot of speeches and interact with the public and overcome the negatives about if you look too old, you look too old. And that's a closed book. And he's eventually going to have to accept that and step aside. So, but in the meantime, he's part of his sales pitch, Biden's sales pitch all his life has been, I come from Scranton, New Jersey, where working people and people have to sit around the kitchen table and talk about how they're going to pay their bills, and I care about people like that. In the meantime, he owns now a home that's worth, what is it, $11 million? And he's helping his son become wealthy by being on the board of a natural gas company in the Ukraine, had a huge monthly income where he has no skills or background in the gas business. I'm so tired of hearing people talk about what a wonderful man Joe Biden is. He's not a wonderful man. He has coached and cozied his son in horrible ways, and he bullied and vilified Anita Hill in 1993. Judy, my late wife, and I sat and watched that happen. I felt my wife tremble out of the knowledge that she'd been sexually abused, and that she saw a connection between the abuse that Anita Hill had suffered and the abuse she suffered. And I watched Joe Biden snicker and sneer while the other senators were beating up on Anita Hill, who was trying to be a whistleblower.